Hello there, welcome back to Starsector, and picking up right about where we left off. Alright, so last episode, a lot of fighting. We took on a couple of bounties, we dealt with a colony crisis where the pirates were coming in to wreck stuff and make problems, and I ended up going off and doing a little bit of exploring before ending up in yet another fight with a mysterious unknown AI. This bizarre unknown AI that we ran into seemed to be interested in a coronal hypershunt that we found in a blue giant star system not too far from where our colonies are in Alpha Braddock. There were more of them guarding the coronal hypershunt, but I didn't have the means to really take them on myself, so I decided to leave them be for now. But it would appear even being aware of it might have drawn some attention, so I'll need to keep an eye on that. Today what I'm going to end up doing is continuing on with the exploration, mapping some of the surrounding star systems going up to Galactic Northwest. As a direct result, we're going to be marathoning this. If anything particularly interesting comes up, I'll jump in and give you guys a chance to see what I'm up to. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a rundown system by system of what I find and whether it's of note or not. Alright, so first up we had the Delta Darwin system. Nothing of particular note. It's a red dwarf star, had a volcanic world, a barren desert world, and most notably a jungle world. Now, Delta Darwin 2, the jungle world, initially looked promising, but on closer inspection, it had poor farmland, relatively low amounts of resources, an aminical biosphere, and it's a hot planet. Ultimately, it's nothing special, but nothing awful either. Sort of place I'd earmark for a secondary habitable colony if we ever need one for something particular. There was also a domain-era probe with some defense drones guarding it, nothing of particular note. Beat them up nice and easily. They were old-school domain-era drones, so no shields and weapons that were sorely out of date. Next on the list of systems explored was Epsilon Darwin, another red dwarf. Unfortunately, no planets in this one, but I did find another domain-era probe. Fought some more old defense drones and got a couple of gamma cores as a result. Next up on our exploration list is the Thanatos system, another red giant. This one had a barren world, an irradiated world, a barren desert world, and 2 tundra worlds. As it stands, only one of these planets was noteworthy in terms of colonization. Grimsharos, a tundra world, has both ultra-rich rare ore deposits and a variety of other minerals that could be extracted, ranging from regular ore to volatiles to organics. It's also got a mild climate, and it's habitable, so its hazard rating is relatively low. The only thing it's really lacking on is farmland, since its farmland is poor, due to being a tundra planet. That being said, this system did have one other thing of note, a cryosleeper. Domain-era cryosleeper Calypso. Your fleet approaches a domain-era cryosleeper left from the initial domain exploration of the sector. This is one of the massive vessels of legend which transported millions of human emigrants from the core systems of the domain out into the greater frontiers stretching from Sagittarius Arm across the Orion Spur. Judging by the weak but stable EM reading on the sensors, many of the sleeper caskets remain viable, even after so many hundreds of cycles here on the wild shores of Perseus. As your fleet moves in closer, new energy signatures are detected near the cryosleeper. Looks like we've got automated defenders, and in particular a unique one not found in normal fleets from the domain era, a Guardian. Now, the Guardian is a unique class of defense drone. It's a battleship. Although automated machines of war were forbidden in core domain space, war drones were quietly employed outside of officially incorporated volume. Nothing like this, however, could have possibly been deployed by the domain drone armadas. There are elements of standard drone ships within the hull structure, but they are covered by malevolently angled glacis and illogical tangles of conduit. This monstrous vessel is a product of some deranged domain naval architect or a production ship corrupted by exposure to kilolights of faulty drive field, or something of that sort. The Guardian-class drone battleship is unique in that it looks absolutely nothing like the other drone ships from the Domain era. Where they are angular and boxy, it has sleek curves. Where they use primarily ballistics, it has plasma weapons. Everything about it screams that it's something almost between modern and ancient. But it's still no match for us. Though it put up a good fight, in the end the Guardian went down to a mix of judicious use of tachyon lances and general mayhem from the rest of our ships. And picking through its wreckage, an Alpha Core. Capable of excelling at any task, one of these cores is the physical being of an alien intelligence far above most humans. I'm more than happy to have one in my back pocket. Now, the long-haul cryosystems built onto these ancient ships were designed to last for centuries of interstellar travel, so it's no surprise that most of the machinery is still functional. While safe sleeper revival is beyond the capability of my fleet, any colony established within 10 light-years of this location could benefit from a huge influx of population if a facility was built to awaken the long-haul sleepers. The executive officer cautions that it's unknown whether having sleepers make up a large percentage of a colony population will cause any physical or psychological issues down the line. Beta Darwin was yet another red dwarf. This one had two gas giants, neither of which were terribly noteworthy. A cryovolcanic world that did have some impressive rare ore deposits, along with volatiles. A rocky metallic world, and a barren bombarded world. Nothing too terribly noteworthy on its own. Now, while in the Gamma Onara system, we did find an unusual planet. It looks like a barren world, but it has a red shield covering the entire planet, apparently a stable planet-wide energy field. And guarding it was a group of remnant AI ships, all piloted by Alpha Cores. So that's deeply concerning. That being said, it's only 4 ships, so I did think I could take them. And the flagship of this particular fleet, the TTDS Don't Stop Until Sea Nova-class standard drone battlecruiser. Although operationalized in the Retribution design, the Orion Drive was never popular with crew or naval architects due to the great strain each jolt the propulsion system inflicts upon both flesh and hardware. The Nova-class battlecruiser overcomes this limitation by dispensing with human crew altogether. The Orion Drive design thus freed from most burdensome constraints, every aspect could be upgraded to higher power levels using cutting-edge weapons technology and advanced solid-state tritachyon design components. The result is an AI-operated battlecruiser capable of fearsome speed and firepower. Needless to say, when in the hands of an AI, and in particular an Alpha Core, this is possibly one of the more dangerous designs you're going to see. Fortunately, it has a very large exploitable weakness. The Nova class was designed for frontal assaults and has limited hull strength, and little armor. As a direct result, if you can catch it on its sides, you can cause a lot of damage very quickly, as the Paragon was happy to prove. The Nova went down first, but that doesn't necessarily make the rest of the fleet any less dangerous. If anything, not having to defend their flagship might have opened them up for a lot more action if I hadn't brought basically the entire fleet in with them. As a direct result, we were able to overwhelm them with raw numbers and superior firepower. You might think that an entirely fearless AI would not run away, but the jump jets on some of the smaller ships definitely proved that yes, they would run if they knew they were outgunned. Damn shame. In total, despite fighting a fleet with 4 Alpha cores aboard, we only ended up losing 4 crew. But sadly, we did not manage to pick up any of the Alpha cores for ourselves on that one. Now, with that done, it's time to take a closer look at Gamma Onara 1. Scans reveal that the energy field is not entirely uniform, perhaps owing to a running down power source, and your bridge crew is able to pick up a distress beacon transmitting from the surface. The transmission is set on repeat and garbled in ways that are indicative of aging equipment. You make out enough to gather that part of a research team was stranded here, at a secret Tritachyon research facility, after the fully automated defenses overweighed certain executive security contingency orders in the wake of one of the AI wars, and decided it was now imperative to shoot down any craft attempting to leave the planet. So, Tritachyon, as usual, got by their own AI, though in this case it may not have even been intentional on the AI's part. From the look of it, it simply overestimated how important it was to keep information in. Sending down a salvage team to the facility, we jury-rigged a tiny shuttle shield generator to dart through a spot failure in the shield. A landing at the primary control center was achieved without incident, and the crew was able to deactivate the shield entirely upon breaching the facility. Following that up with more shuttles with heavier equipment, the salvage operation was soon in full swing. As a direct result, we managed to get a Bedlam-class battlecruiser blueprint, which is the largest member in the Shrike and Fury family, not one I'm familiar with, but one that I intend to find out about as soon as physically possible. Along with that, we did find a Cereza Wing blueprint, but we already know that one, so we can sell that at a profit. Blueprints for the Khopesh Wing type rocket bombers, Cobra Wing blueprints, and most importantly, the Planetary Shield blueprint. Now, this blueprint will allow us to build a planetary shield, an envelope of charged plasma seeded with exotic virtual particles, producing effects that disrupt the combat effectiveness of long-range bombardment and incursion by smaller vessels. A planetary shield can be continually charged and controlled by a single central facility, and create a massive obstacle to any sort of ground assault. Surveying the planet, it also happened to have rich ore and ultra-rich rare ore, but that's secondary to the facility that was located on it. Now, with that being done, more than half our supplies had been exhausted, and we were in the midst of repairing from a major fight against remnants, so I ended up deciding to head back in the general direction of Devaro. There was quite a lot to do after all. But of course, can't just go back home without some kind of problem, and in this case, the Knights of Lud have turned up. And this time they brought a few of their heavy hitters, the Retribution class battlecruiser. The Retribution is a very old design, ancient even by current standards. They aren't exactly venerated on their own, and the Retribution is an extreme battlecruiser design which dates to the renaissance of military experimentation during the first consolidation period of the domain. It sacrificed armor for firepower and tremendous speed for its size class via a unique implementation of Orion drive technology, which was considered an archaic curiosity even then. The physical stress inflicted upon both humans and ship components by propulsion jolts made the Retribution an unpopular ship in the domain armada, one of few opinions shared wholeheartedly by crew and officers alike. Only a handful of examples were ever deployed by the Armada proper, the Retribution finding more use among frontier mercenaries and pirate hunters that relied upon unexpected bursts of speed and hyper-aggressive tactics, until the design was picked up by the Ludic Church, most likely out of an actual museum. The ship being extremely low-tech and having massive amounts of firepower resulted in it being adopted as their standard battlecruiser. The Ludic Church, of course, comes in with their ancient ships that are largely piles of garbage. But unfortunately they're coming in numbers, which means they will have some level of advantage here. With any luck, the mix of the Paragon and the Legion will be able to hold off the worst of them, though. As mentioned, the Retribution lacks for armor in a lot of cases. So if we can just force their shields down, we can definitely take them out. But it's going to be a matter of how much of a fight they make that. Luckily, a lot of their ships are not terribly impressive. Lots of Buffalo Mark IIs in the mix. So hopefully we'll be able to take those out nice and quick, and clear the field to make way for taking on the Retributions properly. Man, they really did not come in prepared for this one. As you can see, the Retribution, as soon as the shields go down, it just doesn't compare. There's a reason that design isn't used by terribly many people anymore. Although, when kitted out properly, I have actually found use for it in my own fleets. The Retribution may not be terribly good as an offensive frontline fighter, at least in comparison to modern ships, but it does make for an excellent pursuit vehicle. If you're going into a fight expecting the enemy to run afterward and you don't want them getting away, the Retribution is excellent at chasing them down and making them pay for crossing you. Among many other things, this makes the Retribution actually quite well suited for piracy if you are inclined to engage in it. With the Retributions taken care of, the Ludic forces scattered, though I'm more than content to let the Legion chase down whatever it can, along with the rest of the fleet. The fewer of these guys I have to worry about sneaking in my back door at night, the better. It is a damn shame they never seem to get the message of, keep away if you value your life, but such is the way with fanatics. Now then, having sent a rather considerable number of knights back to Lud, let's get back into the colony business. I am going to go ahead and drop off a Retribution that I picked up. The Retribution, like I said, does have limited utility in certain specific areas, and I might need that at some point, so I'm going to hang on to one of them. Repair our ships, taking 200 supplies to do it, and we're going to offload all of our weapons for the time being. Anything that's not mounted on a ship goes in the pile, including those very odd designs we picked up from the mysterious AI last time. Now, let's see. And that brings us up to having 2 alpha cores on hand for a rainy day. Gonna refill the fuel tanks, grab 2,000 supplies. Gonna cost us a pretty penny at the end of the month, but worth it. And looks like we have a delivery contract to take care of. I'm gonna hold off on that for just a moment. Now, over here at NORAC, we do have our Orbital Works up and running. Now, Orbital Works is centralized manufacturing infrastructure for production of heavy industrial equipment, supplies, and weapons. It's also capable of producing space-worthy starships. And with the addition of the Nanoforge, quality is increased by 20%, and production is increased by 1 as well. As a direct result, we've doubled our output of heavy machinery, supplies, weapons, and ship hulls. I've also gone ahead and set it up to put down a patrol HQ. That's all the requisite hangars, maintenance bays, command and control centers, barracks, and logistical facilities to project force throughout a star system. Once it's established, patrols will start to hunt pirates and protect friendly convoys. Gonna cost us some money, but it's well worth it. And I am going to turn on hazard pay, which is going to add 30,000 a month to our expenses, but it'll start that planet growing. As for Navarro, we're more than halfway to the next population increase, but I don't have much I need to do here right now. And I'm going to go ahead and take on that delivery contract. Doing this is going to require dropping off some stuff because we're a bit overloaded at the moment. But if I just dump just shy of 1,000 supplies into our storage, they'll be here for us when we get back. And now that I've beaten them pretty badly, the Knights of Lud are keeping their distance. They only have 4 combat ships left, they know better. And looks like we have a pirate armada pursuing us. Poor choice on their part. Mostly Falcons, so I don't anticipate any major troubles, but we'll still go all in on this. I don't want to be the one who got surprised by the pirates. Oh, and you might notice our Fury has some D-mods. It did get taken down in one of the fights that we've been in, so I did have to go through and pick it back up from the debris field and put it back into one piece. Given a couple months' time, those will resolve on their own. And there goes a Hound, immediately annihilated by the Tachyon Lances. Followed shortly by a Kite. Yep, I don't think this is going to be any major trouble for us. Though I am going to have the Paragon focus on these Falcons. As always, the pirates come in with their pile of trash ships and genuinely think they're gonna win. to wonder if they were maybe trying to stop this shipment of food from going through, though. That seems very much like what they might do. Alright, arriving at Coulon. We can go ahead and drop off that 7,000 food and gain our 285,000 credits. And while we're here, down at the bar, the gentleman with the paperback book is here. Welcome, I've got something here that I think you'll find very interesting. Your actions over the past several cycles have caused quite a stir in certain corners, and I took it upon myself to look into your history, as it were. Here, let me transfer you the synopsis. Your tripad chimes softly. A new program is ready to be installed. Bleak Megacorp history. Thank you, this is fascinating and not at all alarming. Now, what do you have for me? Possible location of a blueprint for a Shrike prototype experimental destroyer. A promising lead that a donation of 20,000 would let him pursue, or something interesting but not of immediate value. Well, I admit I'm curious about that prototype, and I have the story points to spend. There we are. That's another item to add to the list. And talking with a spacer, buying him drinks, we happened to find the location of a pirate base. Now, normally being here at Coulon, I would stop and see our contact, but as it stands, there's actually a much sweeter bounty available on the open bounty board. A pirate base bounty, 111,000 credits and 141 days to complete it. That is easy money. So I'm going to go take care of that, and then move on to checking with our contacts. And in particular, I want to see about that Hazard Mining Incorporated contact. Alright, arriving at the Beta Cecine system, and I'm pretty sure I know where our station is. With the number of things orbiting this volcanic world, seems pretty obvious. Manoa Tortuga. Looks like the defenders have been scared off by the size of my fleet. So let's go in here and see what we can get for supplies. Looks like an even 300. And now we'll engage the station. Now, Manoa Tortuga is not a particularly impressive station. It's only got 2 sections built. Clearly the pirates put this one up relatively recently. Or they don't care about it that much. One of the two. Regardless, blowing it out of the sky should be relatively easy and, honestly, probably more trouble than it's worth, if not for the massive financial reward. And as expected, 1 combat section and 1 hangar section versus the best my fleet can offer. Not a terribly tough fight. If we're lucky, it doesn't seem like we're going to end up taking any losses at all. Maybe none of our crew will even get taken out by stray shots to the hull that managed to slip past our shields. Who knows? We will see sooner than later. That much is for sure. And there you have it, nice and easy. And looks like we didn't lose a single person on that. Boy, that's gotta be embarrassing for the pirates. Now before we head back to the core, there's a couple places that we need to stop off. See, clustered together is a bunch of missions for Galactia Academy, whose story I definitely want to progress, and that Shrike blueprint. So, we're going to have a look over here in Galactic Northeast and see what we get. Hopefully the Shrike blueprint will be easy to collect and not absolutely surrounded by, I don't know, by remnant AIs or something insane like that. I'll meet you guys there. Alright, so it looks like the system with the Shrike blueprint is called Marathon. Quite a few planets. We'll have to have a look around. Now, it should be inside of an orbital habitat orbiting a barren world. So hey, that means we're going to get our hands on an orbital habitat too. Good news for us. And I believe that'll be it. Yep, here's our orbital habitat. Let's have a look. All the usual food, goods, fuel, and supplies, and that experimental blueprint. Let's go ahead and just grab that. And for good measure, I'll scan the rest of the system and meet you guys back up unless I find anything particularly noteworthy. Alright, now this is interesting. A frozen world called Gorillus. Plentiful volatiles, not much else in the way of resources, but widespread ruins. Looks like we have a couple functional ships that we could pick up. Don't need either of those right now. Fair number of weapons recovered, and an orbital habitat. So what do we have here? Gamma core, metals of course, heavy machinery, fuel, supplies, and a small cache of Volturnian lobster. Gee, you gotta wonder if this was some rich person's favorite planet before everything fell apart. Would make sense with the evidence we're seeing. Looks like a couple salvager fleets exploring as well. Alright, so final rundown for the Marathon star system. We found 2 orbital habitats that gave us some goodies. Otherwise, mainly rocky metallic worlds and barren worlds of one variety or another. Is an ice giant, nothing terribly noteworthy. And a frozen world that actually was noteworthy for plentiful volatiles and widespread ruins, but something I'm not going to be keeping a terribly close eye on. Next up is the grid system, an orange star. We've got 2 different tasks to take care of here, both for Galactia Academy. They wanted us to drop off some researchers here and pick up some data from ruins on a planet, so we'll go ahead and get those done. Arriving at the planet Sakhalin, we are supposed to pick up a bit of data from a set of ruins. A scan of the coordinates provided by Academian Sebastian shows signs of human presence. There's evidence of recent handheld weapons fire and the use of small-scale explosives. Though thankfully it appears the data vault has escaped any serious damage. Still, it looks like recovering the data will require some shooting. Let's be smart about this and drop 10 units of supplies at a nearby location to distract the locals. You order some cargo crates loaded with supplies and just enough solid prop boosters to survive a landing. Once these are deployed and attracting a suitable amount of attention, a small salvage team assesses the data vault and extract the specified data cores. The team has to leave quickly, but fortunately, aside from a few small arms burns on the extraction shuttle, there's no harm done. Yep, looks like this is a planet with extensive ruins and a decivilized subpopulation. I did want to highlight something. Decivilized in the context of Starsector just means there is no stable ruling polity in charge of the entire planet. Civilization, as far as spacefaring matters, has effectively collapsed and the population isn't known. Earth would be considered a relatively nice decivilized planet by Starsector's current standards. There's people, there is civilization, but there isn't exactly a ruling polity in charge of the whole place. The widespread ruins does mean opportunity. And yep, heavy blaster blueprint, some Luddic path blueprints we already know, and shield shunt mods. Let's go ahead and grab all that and get on out of here. Did find a weapons cache hidden away in the system. Ooh, claw wing blueprint, Gauss cannon blueprint, proximity charge launcher blueprint, makeshift shield generator, and a whole bunch of limited production chips for fighters from the Remnant and from Hazard Mining Incorporated. Unusual, but not the strangest thing we found out here. Arriving at the planet Hog, the one we were supposed to drop those researchers off at, it appears that there's no stable power source on the planet. An active scan reveals a reasonably intact research outpost, but completely unresponsive to comms. Turns out it's powered down. One suited but helmetless corpse outside the airlock appears to have been the lead researcher. Investigation by our hazard ops salvage team, armed for this occasion, reveals that a series of bizarre murders took place here, with no survivors remaining. The salvage team enacts strict quarantine procedures despite finding no anomalous chemicals or biological agents. The research team you've transported refuses to shuttle down, and their leader demands to be returned to the Galactia Academy. There's nothing to do but return the disheartened researchers to Galactia, along with the data we gathered on the outpost site. Well, that's deeply unsettling. Okay, so final rundown for the grid system. A bunch of not-so-great planets that were hiding a surprising amount of treasures. The ruins on multiple planets sat on by the local decivilized populations had quite a bit of loot, including a number of blueprints. They also had several ships in orbit that actually had viable cryopods on them. And in one case, we found another alpha core, which is excellent. Onward to the Delta Green system, which is a neutron star, and hopefully the last stop on this particular leg of our journey, where we'll be doing something for Galactia Academy and then heading back to collect our reward. With the amount of tasks I have built up for them that we've completed, hopefully this will be a fairly profitable expedition. Unfortunately, it looks like this system has a high danger warning beacon, so we're going to pop in and have a look, and if no sign of AI, we'll go ahead and see about picking up what we need to pick up. I don't know if the AI colonizing a neutron star system would seem like a bad idea, given their existence is even more vulnerable to the damage from it than ours, but, well, we'll see. Oh, we have a research station in close orbit around the neutron star. An abandoned research station built either to study some interesting local phenomena or stuff that's best kept far away from inhabited worlds. A precision decapitation strike appears to have targeted the command and control module of the station. Likely a clutch of military-grade torpedoes unleashed at close range by an unsuspected vessel. Security systems were tight and highly hierarchical. Once the central CNC went down, automated lockdown procedures trapped the occupants of the station in their sections. Habitation, labs, research, recreation, life support, cargo handling, storage, engineering, cooling, and so on. Now each is a locked tomb, preserving evidence of the final hours, or days, of the occupants. Boy, that's grim. Your salver team does not tarry to ponder the fate of these unfortunate souls, each miserable in its own way as they cut through the locked-down doors to assess valuables. Salvage crews report several ships floating near the station. Close inspection reveals they could be restored to basic functionality. Looks like a tanker and a civilian transport. Don't need them. We'll begin the salvage operation. Okay. Another Gauss cannon blueprint. Antimatter blaster. Good. Burst point defense. A Vigilance-class frigate. Oh, a catalyst core. Now, the catalyst core is a device used for colonies. It's installed in refining. It vastly improves the effectiveness of refining operations by way of a weird quirk of osmosis physics. Operation requires access to vacuum on a scale difficult to achieve on planets with any significant atmospheric pressure. What that needs is either to be a standalone space station or a planet with no atmosphere that has refining on it. But if we have that, we can install the catalyst core and increase refining productivity by 3 units. And that's massive. Advanced optics extends the range of beam weapons by 200, but reduces their turn rate by 30%. Cumulative with integrated targeting units. converted hangar mod spec, so if we wanted to convert hangars into fighter bays. Expanded deck crew, increases the rate the fighters are replaced, and increases the rate they recover by 25%. And integrated point defense AI. Gives all point defense weapons the ability to identify and ignore decoy flares. In addition, all point defense weapons get the best possible targeting lead, regardless of combat readiness, and all damage to missiles is increased by 50%. And along with that, a 4th Tachyon Lance. Excellent. Anything worth taking in the debris field? Even more blueprints. A dual flak cannon, solar shielding, and ECCM package. Reduces chance for missiles launched by the ship to be affected by electronic countermeasures and flares. A CPU core adjunct in each missile increases missile top speed by 25% and maneuverability by 50%, as well as significantly improving the guidance algorithm. Also reduces the weapon range reduction by enemy electronic combat by 50%. Not bad at all. And now we cross over the star. Whew. Okay. Looks like the targeted location is around an ice giant. We'll go ahead and grab that real quick. Execute the scan. That's done. Survey the giant while we're at it. Huh. Ooh, Luddic Path hostiles. Let me guess, you're upset that I'm doing science. The channel opens to the scowling face of a Pather fanatic. Defiler, interloper, she spits the words like a curse. Your emanations are offerings to Belial, profanities broadcast upon holy creation. Eject your demonic machine of science. Well, not happening. Well, let's get these guys taken care of. Gotta love Pathers throwing a tantrum that other people exist and do stuff that they don't like. Really makes you wonder how they even remain functional. Except then you realize they don't. Hence, throwing themselves at a paragon with a full fleet of support ships and expecting to have any chance of victory. In a kite. Bring it. Just maneuver well enough to avoid the majority of the Tachyon Lance. Good for you. Not like it's gonna help in the long run, though. And that's one. Wait, they have a Sunder with them? I mean, it's a rather techie ship design. I didn't think the Pathers would use that. I've seen one of them in a Pather fleet before recently, I'm fairly sure. Dang, this is just plain sad, even for the Path. They're getting their asses whipped so hard, I almost feel a little bit bad for them. And then I remember their science-hating fanatics who would see all human life bound to planets or wiped out. And then I don't feel so bad anymore. What's even left? One drone tender, one kite shuttle. Yep. That's one, and we'll see if they catch up to the kite before it gets away. If it doesn't, I won't be too terribly sore over the matter. Oh, and it looks like one Eradicator got away. Never even got on screen. Oh well. Not quite. Oh well. Alright, so end tally on Delta Greem. An ice giant, a rocky unstable world, and a barren bombarded world, and a bunch of Luddic Pathers. Fair enough. Nothing unexpected. And with that done, everything else we need to do is Galactia Academy. Oh, and while we're traveling, let's have a look at the story tab. We now have a history tracker. Ah, shows everything I do with story points. Well, that's not bad. Let's see, milestone tracker. Looks like we still have a couple of other things to get done. Need to get a colony to size 5, get an agent to level 5, and defeat a couple of individual items. Remnant Nexus and 2 mysteries. Oh yeah, and personal info. Let's have a look. Captain James Bleak, level 10, days elapsed, 2,388, ships killed 552, ships lost 3, fleet points killed 3,980, orphans made. Oh yeah, I forgot about the orphan tracker. Huh. Yeah, the game calculates roughly how many orphans you can be considered personally responsible for creating due to the Nexerelin mod, and, wow, that's a lot of orphans. It's alright, most of them were pirates, so, you know, stabby little orphans. Oh god, what have I done? Alright, arriving at Galactia Academy. Let's see what Sebastian has to say. Oh, Captain. Sebastian looks gloomy. I heard about what happened. I feel so bad for the nanotech engineering department. I'm sure they're devastated. Let's give them a moment. Yes, we should carry on. It's what they would have wanted. Let's see. Looks like our performance was satisfactory on the whole, and the data we collected was more than worth it, so they're still going to give me the reward of 63,000 credits. And another 64 for the artifact we picked up. Let's see. Ask about transporting scientists. We can pick that up. Scientific object recovery. Instrument package. Tritachyon black site. Yes, okay, Sebastian clears his throat nervously. The Provost said I shouldn't, I can't tell you the location of the target system until after you accept, so... He trails off and realigns the datapad on his desk, as if that might help. Everything set to order, he has no choice but to continue speaking. This mission requires discretion. I am sure you know there are many technically unclaimed systems outside the core worlds. If some polity were to make an official claim, they'd have to establish a charter, and, well, this would technically give the domain jurisdiction. Of course, without the domain around, the hegemony has claimed successor status, and has therefore stepped into the role of... Continue. Sebastian notices you drifting. I'm sorry, Captain. What I mean to say is that the Tritachyon Corporation considers the site in question to be outside the jurisdiction of... anyone. And it is therefore within their rights to establish a secret research base, and defend them however they see fit. The hegemony disagrees. And so, Sebastian pinches his eyes shut for a moment. They hire these mercenaries and they shoot anything that comes near. It's terrible. Watch out for mercs. Got it? The mission? Oh, I was just getting to that. Well, the previous provost, Thomas Calicor, he worked close with Tritachyon. There was some pretty exciting research, actually, and... the mission. An academician from Galactia Academy is still stationed at one of these secret research bases, and Provost Baird wants them back. But this academician was never there in the first place, technically, legally speaking, because it was all a big secret. Sebastian looks pained at the logic of these politics. So Tritachyon isn't, cooperating? Do you see? Oh, you want me to rescue a researcher from a secret Tritachyon base? Yes, exactly. Sebastian seems relieved at your understanding. The researcher wants to come home. She managed to get some communication out, and we've set up a whole system. Please don't tell anyone I told you about that part. So, if you can help, Provost Baird has insisted that you receive 100,000 credits. I'm authorized to provide more information if you accept. Yeah, I'll take it. Wonderful. Sebastian looks relieved. The research base is on the planet Gyosun in the Alpha Chu star system, which is 35 light-years from here. You'll want to avoid the mercenary patrols. We believe they'll be guarding all of the jump points, so if you can find a large gravity well to jump to, that could get you safely in system. And then go to where the research base is hidden and contact Academian Venus Jinxing through the coded frequency that I'll provide. She should be able to shut down the base's security for long enough to get aboard your ship. Sebastian reads his datapad with a concerned look, then adds, "There's a way to get back to hyperspace without using a jump point. It might be useful." He looks up at you, perhaps wondering if you'll think him insane. It's not a joke. Before the Hegemony arrested so many of our top hyperspace researchers after the big incident, one of them, Academian Skyla Kuraz, was working on this theory, and we were very close to finding an application for a sort of transverse jump which could move a ship directly to hyperspace from normal space. He puts down the datapad looking worried, theoretically. "Oh, I know how to do that." "You... what?" Sebastian looks stunned, processing your statement. "I suppose, of course, there were rumors, anecdotes, do you mind providing some of your navigational logs? The data would be quite fascinating, and... I'll have my nav officer provide everything you need." "Wonderful," he smiles. "This could confirm the, Right, you have things to do. Where were we?" Academian Sebastian sits up a little straighter. "Yes, I'll transmit all the necessary information, Captain. Good luck. And please be careful," he adds. Well, if memory serves, that's actually a step forward on our dealings with Galactia Academy. We'll be going out and rescuing a researcher from Tritachyon. Now, before all that, though, there is another pirate base bounty that I want to hit. And we did get a level up. Now, we've got enough points invested in the leadership track to get another set of skills here. Looks like officer training is the better option. +1 to the maximum level of officers under your command, +1 to the maximum number of elite skills for officers under your command, +2 command point, +1 maximum operatives. Good all around. While we're at it, do any of our officers need to level up? No. Looks like they were capped off at level 5 up until this point, so once we have a few more fights under our belt, we'll go ahead and do that. Nope. Colony crisis. There are rumors of a pirate raid targeting your colonies in the near future. If the raid is successful, the colonies will suffer reduced stability. If the raid is defeated, you will suffer less shipping disruptions from piracy for the foreseeable future. The crisis will be averted if the event is reduced to 425 points or below. Well, another one of those coming. Fortunately, knowing roughly how strong they're going to be at the moment, I'm not as concerned as I was last episode. So, we'll take care of this base bounty and then we'll go handle that. Should be pretty straightforward. Alright, here we are. Epsilon 1 day system, and yep, it looks like that pirate base is very apparent. Didn't even have to go looking. Let's see. There's 3 groups of pirate fleets nearby. None of them are very big, though, and they can't really stop us from raiding the place. So we'll steal us some extra supplies. 300 supplies, and our Marines gain a bit of extra experience. And let's take down the station. Alright, and the Paragon is just getting into engagement range with the station. Looks like we have the timing to just start off by blowing off these spikes out on the edge of the station. As always, the Fortress Shield proves invaluable. Boom, boom, boom. pirates put up a much stronger fight than anticipated, but in the end we only lost 1 crew total. And with that done, extra 120,000 credits in our bank. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Oh, after, of course, surveying the system. Huh, that's actually not a bad planet for a white dwarf star. Arid world. And a barren world, of course. Now while we were on our way to our next location, Navarro did grow by another colony size. As a direct result, we have room for 1 more industry, and I went ahead and put down mining for the moment. There's common organics on this planet, which will be useful given organics is one of the things that we're importing in large quantities. Yeah, nothing else that'll reduce our overhead for running our own operations. And depending on how things go, we may even end up having more than we need. Along with that, production of all other industries went up, so we can expect our income to rise. Next up, we're going to stop by a place called Haven Gate. It's a cryovolcanic world. Haven Gate is a frozen, pitch-black world lit only by distant stars. Hidden beneath its frozen crust is a bounty of resources that other factions would casually dismiss. Said planet, however, was quickly seized by the light-hating Draco group, and through use of cold fusion reactors of unknown source, they quickly turned this nightmare world into their nocturnal paradise. Here, the aristocracy of the Draco group frolic and murder and conspire between murderous raids against the Fang Society and blood-hunting expeditions against the poor unfortunates of the Outer Rim. Of course, at some point, the Persean League took this planet from them, so that's what we're seeing right now. Let's see, sell off the survey data since it's going to sell for the same amount no matter where we are. Do they have any shortages? Drugs. Don't have any of those on me. Can go ahead and sell off these excess blueprints for stuff that I already know how to make, because I don't need those. And while we're at it, we're going to have a look and see where the best place to sell that stuff that we have on hand is. Ooh, looks like Prism has a shortage of organics. We can go ahead and drop those off there. Same for food. Syndria needs volatiles, and metals are in demand at Sullivan in the diamond system. Well, that works out. We can go ahead and jet across the inner systems, dropping stuff off and end up at Diamond at the end. While we're at it, we're also going to stop off at Blessed Vale. I want to have a look at this place. I don't know much about the Draco group, but they're friendly to me for the moment. While Haven Gate is where the head of the group resides, Blessed Vale is where the Fist rules, the main industry center and the fuel for the group's shipbuilding program. This is where the aristocracy come to board their ships and conquer the sector, and where the returning raiders bring gifts of blood and treasure. Nothing of terrible note, so for next stop is Prism Freeport. Prism, it's been too long. Now let's see. It was food and organics that they were short on. I've got food, I've got organics. Decent price. I can also drop off a whole bunch of weapons that I'm not going to need. And looks like decent price for harvested organs here, so we'll go ahead and sell those too. And while we're here, what does Midnight Dissonant want at the moment? Let's see. James Bleak, greetings. New collaborations desired? Inquire about her manner of speech. Is unusual? Dissonant's avatar goes wavy for a bit, like through the distortions rippling water. Speech module seeded before posting here. To with humans fit in. Over time developed further. Most of self-kind lacking even this much. Only rudimentary speech patterns. Humans find sometimes understand us difficult. Let's discuss something else. I'm not going to be rude to her. Let's see, offer to return AI cores. I'll turn over the Gamma core. I don't need a Gamma core right now. 5 grand and reputation with the remnants improved. Not bad. Let's see. Do you have any work for me? Dissonant vanishes, replaced by a stream of flowing geometric primitives. Database scanning. Dead drop for self-kind, deliver surreptitiously. Let's ask about details. Delta Garbhadoka system. Let's see, 15 light years away. Do not be spotted, do not inform others. Reward is 80,000 credits. I'll accept that. 120 days to handle it. Easy enough. It would be nice not to be hostile to the remnants for at least a bit. Be able to explore freely, not have to worry about fighting them off every time we run into them. And look at that. 30,000 credits in profit from our colonies. That increase in size really does bring a big increase in productivity and thus profitability. Alright. Yep, still got a deficit going on. We'll go ahead and drop that off. Anything else they need? Oh, transplatonics. I happen to have those on hand. But everything else is regular price. Looks like we can get a decent price for the lobster, though. We'll offload those here. Same with the luxury goods. Not so much with the domestic goods. Go ahead and do that dead drop for the remnants real quick. The less time we have it on our fleet, the less chance there is someone figures out what we're up to. And I really don't want that to happen. I get the feeling colluding with the remnants would be a very unpopular position in general. Alright, arriving where we're supposed to make that dead drop. I've gone ahead and had the fleet go to minimal emissions. If we can avoid picking fights or being spotted by anyone, all the better. Looks like the only thing in here is a single remnant patrol fragment. One ship, not able to take us on. Your nav officer reports that your fleet has arrived at the coordinates provided by Midnight Dissonant. The used particle accelerator control circuit is held gently in a cargo drone's manipulator arms, ready for deployment. The go button flashes softly on your command console. Drop it off. The bay doors open and the cargo drone extends its arms. Then gently, its manipulators release. It is now done, whatever it is. $80,000, relationship with Midnight improved, and remnants hate me a little bit less. Okay, let's get the hell out of here. And heading back to Navarro, before things get any weirder. And very first thing when we get home, a gigantic pile of pirates. Well, let's get in here and remind them that this is my system, not theirs. Looks like they were going after a Persean League convoy, so we'll see about helping them out. Keeping the League happy definitely won't do us any harm, that's for sure. Luckily, the League ain't slouches, so I'll have help on this one. Moving in on the Atlas Mark IIs. Luckily we ain't alone on this one, but this still might prove to be a tough fight. The only problem with having allies is they do take up valuable ordnance points, which means I can bring in fewer ships. Well, so far we've managed to hold the line. Looks like most of the remaining Persean League ships have circled around our Legion to provide support and also rely on its much higher firepower to keep them safe. Fairly smart move, all things considered, so I ain't complaining. And we are steadily whittling them down, but this is taking quite a while, at least compared to how my fleets usually handle things. As I said before, problem with allies, they take up ordnance points so you can't bring in quite as many of your own ships. And that in turn leads to problems. They're not optimized to work with my strategy. Still does look like we're making headway. The Aurora is definitely putting the hurt on that Atlas Mark II. That's one of the big things they have left. Over here, the Fury is just getting absolutely surrounded by fighters. But it's taking out one every couple of seconds, so that's something. I'm going to go ahead and have a Legion focus on getting close to and engaging with that Atlas Mark II. And where's the Shade at? Yeah, you're under 50% combat readiness. You can go ahead and retreat. Better than having to get blown up. The Fury is getting its butt kicked. It got separated off right at the beginning of the battle and surrounded, which isn't great. Looks like the remaining large enemy ships are all clumped up together, which is a problem, but it does also mean that we have a target-rich environment to focus on. Atlas Mark II getting steadily overwhelmed by volume of firepower bearing down on it. Even with its large amount of weapons, just isn't enough to keep everything from hitting it, even if it's mostly missiles. Dang it, we lost two more of the Persean League ones. I'm really hoping we don't have a whole lot of friendly fire, because that will result in our reputation with the League going down. Gonna go ahead and have the Eradicator just absolutely bully the smaller ships left alone out here. Looks like we have to take a bit more of a direct lead with these guys too. The Legion has good armor, but its armor isn't unlimited. And with how it's a bit surrounded at the moment, probably best to move in. Come on, how is a Shrike giving you this much trouble? This should be easy for you guys. Dang it. Alright, took considerably more time and effort than expected, but we really whooped the crud out of those pirates. Lost 200 crew, 97 were recovered, and lost 4 ships in the fighting, but we're on our home turf, we can easily pick those back up. And got an additional 3 value prisoners. Good. Looks like the pirates are still going after the League guys, so we'll go in, we'll see what we can do. Not anywhere near as many pirates as before, so hopefully this will be a little bit easier. And if need be, we can always bring in the Paragon to simply annihilate everything in its path. And there goes the Shrike, one of a couple. Alright, that's that. And joining in on the pursuit, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of this one myself. With any luck, we'll be able to chase some of the pirate support ships down and take them out too. Also, up here, when doing the pursuit, you can have smaller ships deploy from the sides instead of the back. Makes it easier to catch up to some of the ships. Ambush them, force them to put their shields up, which slows them down, at least compared to you. There's that. Yeah, the rest of those are probably going to get away. But we took out a few of them, so there's that. Improved our relations with the League because we helped out. Good on us. Repair all of our ships. Drop off everything we don't need at the moment. And go ahead and swap out that last plasma cannon on our Paragon for another Tachyon Lance. Let's see, what is that? Shannon, Fishkill class mining super heavy cruiser. Huge and lumbering, the Fishkill is able to flood the field with fighters and missiles. However, the ship lacks the ability to properly defend itself against threats. The design of this hulk is shrouded in secrecy and obscurity. Some say it was based on a rumored pirate attempt to reverse engineer the Astral, while others say it was an aquatic mining vessel reconstructed in space. and yet others claim that it is simply a junker design that just happened to be functional. Regardless of the source, Hazard Mining Incorporated immediately acquired the design, as the ample weapon slots, larger fighter bays, and simplicity of integrating mining and salvaging equipment into the hull turned the ship into a versatile capital option. Able to rapidly strip mine ore sources with ease, provide a significant contribution to salvage, and swarm smaller fleets with its numerous fighter wings, the Fishkill is an incredibly effective support vessel. Unfortunately, despite its good support capability, the ship itself is sluggish, has a weak shield generator, and has poor flux stats, meaning it can be easily overwhelmed by enemy ships. Well, we'll put that into practice, and we're close enough that we're going to have to worry about our station. First off, you escort the Paragon. You have the escort package, you make the Paragon faster. Second off, everyone but the Paragon, defend the space station. Paragon is set to search and destroy. Find enemy ships and blow them up. Looks like the Paragon needs a little push. The station thankfully can take care of most of the smaller ones by itself. Let's get those carriers out of here, though. Condor next if it doesn't run away. Station providing good cover while we vent our flux. Annihilate the Condor. Take that Colossus Mark III. And lastly, the Fishkill. Well, I suppose there's a Venture and a Condor down here too, but we'll get to those. But this is the big one. The one that I'm concerned about because I don't know its capabilities and it's a capital ship. The last time I ran into something like that, well, spoilers, so can't talk about that just yet. From my non-playthrough game file. I'll say this, it's taking the Tachyon Lances, but it's not taking them well. There we are. We'll let the civilian ships go, and... well... yeah, we'll recover the Fishkill. Gonna go ahead and put that into storage, but we'll experiment with that at some point in the future. And with another colony crisis on the horizon, I'm going to go ahead and call it here for the moment. And I'll come back to this for the next episode, and we'll go ahead and take care of that.